Wilder Show podcast. I'm Scott. That's Lauren.
Hello.
Hey, Lauren. Can you believe how chilly it is?
I love it.
Come on.
It does it fit? This is not a complaint. I noticed a little bit more this year, feeling like it went from warm to cold really fast. Like overnight.
I think that's true. I think part of it also is we just, maybe we're feeling things differently now.
Because we're older?
Maybe.
No,
Maybe.
I reject that.
Okay. All right.
I reject
Good for you.
that.
Yeah. Just keep saying that. Meanwhile, I'm going to say this. Instagram, you find us on Instagram. You'll search Wilder Show Pod, and that's our Wilder Show presence on Instagram. If you want to send us an email, just email to podcast@wildershow.com. John, I owe you an email return. I'll get that to you. Wilder Show Podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on the TikTok every now and then. Just search Wilder Show. You'll find it there. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And we appreciate that. We have much to dive into today. Let's first say today is Friday. It is Halloween.
It is.
It is All Hallows Eve, right?
Mm-hmm.
It also is the lesser popular.
But perhaps more important.
Perhaps. And also has been the case for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
It is Reformation Day. Reformation Day.
Happy Reformation Day.
Happy Reformation Day. Martin Luther was a little known guy, an obscure guy named Martin Luther. He was not particularly well known, and he was fed up with something called indulgences. You want to do a little, not a deep dive, but a little mini dive on this?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Indulgences was a practice in the Catholic Church where, and I wasn't raised Catholic, I don't know, but I mean, say like I did something wrong, and they say, okay, do this, but also if you give a donation, then we'll kind of look the other way on some of this stuff.
Or we will look the other way, and God will look the other way.
Oh, right, of course, yeah of course.
Uh-huh.
So we'll make sure God looks another way if you'll donate more money to this thing, or you'll participate in this way. So it was called the selling of indulgences.
Right.
So it'd be like the priests saying, don't worry, if you give more money to the church, to this church, then God will look the other way. Or God will give you a pass, sort of a wink, a wink and a nod. And Martin Luther was like, no, that doesn't seem right. And so he wrote 95 theses, and he wrote them, and he nailed them to, it was a Wittenberg door, wasn't it?
It was.
He nailed them to the Wittenberg door. Now, for his teachings, for his writings, he was put on trial for heresy. And in 1521, he was excommunicated by the Pope. He went on to teach and write, translated the Bible into German vernacular, published numerous hymns, died in 1546, actually near the peak of the Reformation itself. Today, and it's called Protestant, right? It was the Protestant Reformation.
Yes.
Why is it called Protestant? Because it came from a protest.
That's right.
Right? Protestant. More than 900 million people adhere to the Protestant faith. And he wrote, I think, the greatest hymn of all time, written between about 1527 and 1529. I like to sing it in German. Of course, it is Einfachstburg ist unser Gott. A mighty fortress is our God.
All right.
Such a great hymn.
It is a great hymn. I just didn't recognize it in the original German. Yeah.
Anyway, so there you go. There you go. It is Reformation Day, too. So I think it would be well received if you would just, tonight when the kids come, instead of giving them candy, just give them a copy of the 95 Theses.
Maybe a little quiz on the Reformation.
That's a good
I've got
idea.
This lollipop, and I'm about to drop it in the plastic pumpkin. But first, what can you tell me about the Reformation?
Louis, Lauren,
Yeah.
Look what I have for you.
What?
If you, what is this?
Those are Smarties.
Yeah.
That's my favorite candy.
All right. So you have to listen to all 95 theses. And then I'll give you this.
And I get the candy?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Kids would flee. They'd say, over here, this lady's, she got a bucket of, she's not even on the porch anymore.
Just stick your hand in there and take whatever you want.
Things in the news to get to. So just a bit of a preview. The president wants to resume nuclear testing. What does that mean? We'll take a look at that. Israel says they will resume the ceasefire now that they killed more than 100 in some strikes, but we'll explain. And that is a fact. We'll explain what that means, though. Kash Patel,
I think it's Cash, yeah.
has shut down the Charlie Kirk foreign intelligence probe, and it was a massive argument in the White House, and we'll talk a little bit about that. The shutdown will end by the 14th of November. Just mark my words.
That's a prediction.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a certainty. It will end by the 14th of November, and we'll tell you about that.
Okay.
The president wants to have nuclear tests, U.S. testing nuclear weapons, which, by the way, we haven't done in 30 years. It was 1992, as I recall, was the last nuclear test. And the weirdest thing is, he was asked about this, and he said, I've instructed the Department of War, he likes to say the Department of War, the Department of War to resume nuclear testing because all these other people are doing it too, and we should be doing it. If they're doing it, we should be doing it. Well, first of all, they're not doing it. I mean, other than North Korea, in the last, I think, 30 years, nobody has tested a nuclear weapon. There's not been a nuclear explosion tested in the last 30 years. Now, they test the delivery of those weapons, right? The ballistics, the missiles, the intercontinental, all that kind of stuff, the jets and all that. So I don't know what he's talking about, but he's given the edict for the Department of War to, he'll back away from that. What he'll say is, well, whatever they're doing, we should be doing that. That's what he's going to end up saying. Yeah. But confusing and odd. Let me start with Democrats don't get it.
We've done that before.
Boy, we have.
That is a common refrain.
But you know what? They still, and I mean it, they still don't get it.
Tell me what you're thinking today.
It has to do with the shutdown. And let me sort of explain what it's like. Let's pretend that the children are the people of the United States. This is a family. Okay. You have mom and dad and you have children. Let's say the mom is Democrats. Okay. And let's say the dad is Republicans, leadership. And let's say the children are all of us. Yeah. Okay. So what happens is there's a shutdown and the kids are hungry. And the mom says, if your dad would get out and work harder, we'd have money for food. They looked at the dad. The dad says, if your mother wouldn't spend so much, we would have money for food. And they do this argument back and forth. And either side could fix it. Either side could give in and make it right. But they don't until it's clear one side is getting more pain from the kids than the other. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
If Democrats really believed that they were at risk politically, you would think they would put an end to it. Yeah. We talked about the numbers. The numbers are not going in Democrats' direction. They're not going in their direction.
If they thought they were at risk politically, is entirely different from if they thought their people were suffering.
They don't care about that. Yeah. They don't care about that. You could say the same about Republicans.
Yeah.
But they don't care. That's not the point. The point is not that there are people that are about to lose their food stamps. That's not the point. In fact, the point is they want to use that suffering, and then on the news broadcast, they will characterize that as being something to blame Republicans for.
Okay.
So in other words, hey, we're sorry, kids. We're sorry that you're hungry, but it's Republicans' fault. they don't mind using that suffering if it will gain them the ability to do what they want to do. And again, what do they want to do? Maybe it's hard to keep up with all this. What they really want to do, they've 14 times now, they have voted not to reopen the government. Republicans have said, let's reopen the government. All we're going to do is we're not going to add anything to it, anyway, just going to keep it exactly the way it is so we can do business. Come on in, and then we'll argue about these things you say are important to you. We'll do that. And they say, no, we're not doing that. You agree to what we want you to agree to, including health care for illegals and all manner of different things. That's, if you'll do that, then we'll, and Republicans have just said, no, that's not the way it works. I mean, you got to open the government, then we're going to fight about it. Okay. Yeah. So they are content so long as they believe that the people they will count on for votes in the future will ultimately blame Republicans. And we've told you that's not going to happen. Well, what happened this week, I think is significant. And what difference has it made to Democrats? There is something called the American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE. Their slogan is Working for America. It is, as I recall, it is the largest federal workers union. Now, when you think of union members, you think, how are union members going to vote? Largely, they vote Democrat, right?
Sure.
The working men, blah, 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 right? Liberals. And so you would think that what this union says would carry some weight. So what did they say? Here's what they said this week. They said, we agree with the Republicans.
Okay.
That's basically what they said. They said, hey, we agree with the Republicans, and Dems are swayed not at all. They have not been moved an iota. The demands of the largest federal employees union to reopen the government, a sign that the shutdown stalemate will continue as government workers increasingly feel the pain during the process. Democrats don't care. It turns out they don't feel your pain. It's the latest example of how pressure points have not had the power to bring an end to the shutdown. So, look, Democrats are not moved by this. They're not moved. It's a fresh demand. It is from the largest federal employees union, and it is simply, hey, in fact, I think the quote was really this. They said, we've heard both sides, and you have made your points. Let's reopen the government and then debate these things. Well, that's exactly the Republican position.
Yeah.
Reopen the government first with a clean, continuing resolution, which is what has been offered by Republicans 14 times now, and Democrats have said no. The union is saying that, do that, let's do that. And Democrats are saying, no, we're not going to do that. Dick Durbin is the senior minority whip. He, of course, acknowledges, hey, we feel your pain, has a lot of impact, and they've been our friends, and we've worked with them over the years, Durbin told reporters. It's a terrible mess, but he says, I'm not seeing any change in position at this time as Democrats continue to oppose the bill to extend current funding levels through November 21st. Let me tell you something. We're getting so close to it now that if they cut a deal now, it would only be for 2 weeks.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They're going to have it be more than that, or we do the whole thing again. What is that, the week before Thanksgiving?
Jeez.
Anyway, they don't get it. They just don't get it. They absolutely don't get it. And it's going to cost them at the ballot box. Speaking of not getting it, Mamdani in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Guy running for mayor, and AOC is all over that endorsement. You know, I read this somewhere this week. She has actually more to gain and lose in the outcome of that election than he does.
How so?
Well, I mean, obviously, if he loses, he won't be the mayor of New York.
Sure.
Obviously. But she's running on basically the same philosophy, and she's endorsing him and bringing all of her people to vote for him. If he doesn't win, her effort then to run for Chuck Schumer's seat, or larger than that, run for the presidency, which she's certainly been named as one that could do that, is, I think, harmed a little bit.
Yeah. Her
brand, if you want to say it that way.
Her brand, her image.
Yeah, is sort of damaged, a little tarnished a bit. Tarnished a bit. she's not seen as being as powerful.
You mean if all of the power she can bring to
doesn't do
bear
it.
doesn't get it done?
Doesn't do it.
Yeah.
So we're a little over a week away. And Mamdani, the CEO of the Metro, whatever the New York Metro, one of Mamdani's things is, hey, we're going to provide free and fast bus.
Everybody's going to ride the bus.
Everybody
for free.
rides the bus for free. Everything's on time. It's all good, freshly scrubbed. The CEO says, yeah, that's not even possible. These numbers don't. I think he said the math don't math.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense. He's promising something that is not only can he not do it, it is not possible.
It can't be done.
It can't be done. We don't have the money. It just can't be done.
So has anybody asked him that in a meaningful way? I mean, asked him about that, like how? It's great to say you can do that, and that could be huge for the city, but how?
Well, part of it is, as you might imagine, we talked about this back with Barack Obama. We talked about it with Kamala Harris. When you have a Trump card you can play, it's very difficult to go very deep on questions to whoever that is. With Barack Obama, it was because he was black. But you can't go very deep. If you're real critical, they immediately say, you know what? I'm noticing in you a little microaggression. I don't think you really understand. You don't think you're racist, but the fact that you don't even recognize it and look off to the side. Do you see what I'm saying? You don't even recognize that you're racist. That is more evidence than ever.
This is such a simple question, though. Yeah. I mean, anybody could promise anything.
I totally understand. But with the same thing with Kamala Harris. And the same thing with Mamdani, because he's Muslim. This came up.
Man, that just seems...
This came up.
I understand. I understand what you're saying. This seems to me like such a simple question.
I agree.
Though, and it doesn't have anything to do
I agree
with
that.
the color of his skin or the religion that he practices or anything else.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is what is so... Is the word insidious? This is one of the most horrible things about a Trump card is you just wait and you hold on to it. And when you don't want to answer a question, you play the card. And all of a sudden, nobody's talking about it anymore. There's an old Seinfeld bit. Remember the Seinfeld bit where it's during the TV show and there's a pretty girl.
Oh, I know where you're going.
He's trying to get her phone number and he gets her phone number. She has volunteered to walk in an AIDS walk.
Right.
And so he volunteers to walk in the AIDS walk because he knows she has just written down her phone number. So he volunteers, he picks it up, and so he gets her phone number that way. Elaine asks him, how did you get her phone number? And he said, well, I saw it on an AIDS walk list.
On the sign-up sheet, right?
On the sign-up sheet. And she goes, you took her number off the AIDS walk sign-up? He said, yeah, it's not that big a deal. And she said, what if she asks you, how did you get my number? He said, I'll just tell her that I don't remember exactly who it was. I was out buying a boat. And Elaine says, you bought a boat? He said, see, you're not even paying attention. It's the same thing.
I know.
It's the same kind of thing.
This just seems like
I know.
a
this
promise
matters.
that big.
I know.
That would be a reasonable question for anyone, regardless of color, background, anything like that.
This is the thing. This is why I'm still, even now, in search of my own Trump card. So I don't have to.
Yeah.
So I don't have to answer uncomfortable questions. I could just accuse you of being against us.
There are names for that, I think. I mean, don't we call people like that narcissists?
You mean me?
Just in everyday life? If you question somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And they
are
so easily able to turn it around on you. Well, what about the time
right, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know for sure if that is a sign of a narcissistic personality, but
Israel and the ceasefire. This is odd. I mean, this is tough. President Trump voiced support for Israel's actions after Israel carried out strikes that ended in more than 100 people dying, being killed in Gaza. And you say, wait a minute, what about the peace deal? Well, yeah. What about the peace deal? Israeli military said it had begun the renewed enforcement of the fragile ceasefire after they made these strikes that resulted in these deaths. Dozens of targets were struck in the attack, the most serious yet since it seems weird to even say, doesn't it? I mean, it wasn't that long ago, right?
That the peace deal was
it's like, 2 weeks? I mean, it's nothing.
Yeah.
A spokesman for the Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza told NBC News that more than 104 people had been killed, including 40 children, 20 women, since the Tuesday night deadly strikes. And Israel's not saying they didn't do it. They're saying, yeah, we did it. Because they broke you did this, did so, did not, did so. And here we go again, as we have for 2,000 years or more. So the peace deal is back on. What we know is that Hamas has not lived up to it because they have not returned the bodies of those who were dead. I think I'll say 17. They're up to 17 or 18, maybe 19 by now. I think they're 19. I think there are 7 or 8 more that they have yet to return, and then that part will be done. But even if they do all of that, they have not disarmed. And they're not going to disarm. This is all a kick the can down the road. They're not going to disarm, I don't think. And then somebody's have to make up their mind and say, well, remember when we said if you don't disarm, we will disarm you? That's going to have to be talked about. And I hope it doesn't, but they're not going to disarm. Kash Patel has shut down the Charlie Kirk. Look, I haven't said much about Charlie Kirk in the last couple of weeks.
Right.
But it's getting curiouser and curiouser about what is and is not being looked into, in my view. People of goodwill can disagree. But here's what happened. The most recent thing, FBI Director Kash Patel crushed efforts by Tulsi Gabbard. Actually, it was her advisor. Who was her advisor? Joe Kent. Joe Kent is her advisor. What Joe Kent was doing was seeing if there was any foreign power involved in the Charlie Kirk assassination. He's the head of the National Counterterrorism Center, and they analyzed FBI files. They were determining whether Kirk's alleged killer received any assistance from a foreign power, and Patel's head exploded. It was a very intense. The whole thing, you know already, Tyler Robinson, 22 years old. He's been charged. Death penalty if he's found guilty. Well, Kash Patel discovers that this guy, Kent, has gone through FBI case material related to the Kirk killing. And boy, a tense White House meeting follows. Roundtable meeting, Patel, Kent, Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard, Vice President J.D. Vance, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, senior DOJ officials, all part of this meeting at the White House. Kent told administration officials that he was granted access to the FBI by a low-ranking agency official, and Kash Patel's head exploded. It was so intense that, quote, little was accomplished. Trump administration officials were worried that Kent's probe, here's what they say. What they're saying is that this other stuff where you say, hey, it might have been somebody else. It might have been somebody else. What do they call that if you're on trial? They call that reasonable doubt. So if you have somebody that you think is the guy that did it, and then you introduce this other stuff, then all you're doing is maybe weakening the case against the guy that you say did it. But what I would say is if you can weaken the case against the guy that you say did it, maybe he didn't do it, right?
Yeah.
If you weaken, the whole point is you have to be found beyond a reasonable doubt guilty. And the old thing of, I think I asked it with Scott Peterson. It's Lacey Peterson, Scott Peterson, allegedly, or was convicted of killing Lacey Peterson. And we were waiting on the verdict. And I said, what's the worst thing that could happen? What's the worst thing that could happen? We're waiting for the verdict. What's the worst thing? And most people would say, well, if he gets off, if he did it, but he gets off. Yeah. That's the worst thing, but that's not the worst thing.
Not the worst thing. The worst thing would be
if
for
he
him
didn't
to
do
be
it
innocent and still be convicted.
Yeah. That's the way the system works. The system is set up to believe that we would really, really, literally rather 10 guilty people go free than to have one innocent person be found guilty.
Yeah.
So, but that it is with that thinking that they're saying, hey, don't introduce the other ideas of stuff. But there are so many questions.
Well,
we're not going to get into all the
the only
questions now.
difference is Scott Peterson said he didn't do it. And this kid says he did do it.
Well, let's wait till there's a trial, if there is a trial.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is what we heard in the trial. Let's wait until people are sworn. They're under oath. Somebody under oath.
There hasn't been a trial yet. So we didn't hear any. You said that's what we heard in the trial.
It was Scott Peterson. In the Scott Peterson trial, that's where we heard sworn testimony that somebody says, Scott Peterson says he did not do it.
I thought he still maintains his innocence. Publicly, he still maintains his innocence.
Well, I'm sorry.
And it might be completely different from the Tyler Robinson thing. I'm just saying that.
The only sworn thing we have from Tyler Robinson, under oath, swore under oath. What was his plea? Was
it not guilty?
It was.
Okay.
So he has pled not guilty. The state has the obligation to prove him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay.
Whether he told his dad this, whether he said this, whether those were his notes, that's an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
All those, it's not unlawful to lie to the press. It's not unlawful to lie to your furry roommate. It's not unlawful to lie to your friends. That's not unlawful. It is unlawful to lie under oath.
Uh-huh.
So let's wait and see, because it is also against the law to lie to the authorities.
Sure.
So the authorities never heard him say, I did it.
Okay.
He never admitted to doing it to the authorities. So the only official word we have from him is his plea of not guilty. The rest of the stuff, it doesn't matter until it's under oath and it's been investigated. If I wrote a note right now and just wrote a note out and said, hey, the next door neighbor gave this to me, take a look at this, you'd go, well, okay, well, then it must be true. Well, let's wait. Let's find out whose handwriting it is. Let's find out where the computers were. But that's all. This is my point. This is all part of the investigation. Yeah. And the sort of shutting down of the investigation and move on, nothing to see here, I don't think is a good idea. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of the feel that I get, that people, most people have moved on to say, hey, this is all done. It's Lee Harvey Oswald. Don't worry about it. Just move on. Nobody else involved. Russia's not involved. CIA is not involved. The mafia is not involved. Future Johnson administration is not involved.
Yeah.
It's just one guy, crazy guy, did this crazy thing. I'm not trying to say Lee Harvey Oswald was not the one. I'm just saying that same great effort to say, move on, just move on. Mm-hmm. The only thing I would say is that Kash Patel talked about, we'll turn over every rock. We'll investigate everything. Remember that whole long list that we read?
Yeah.
Of all the different things. Were other people involved? Who really wrote the notes? What caliber? What about the gun? What about the ammunition? What about the fingerprints? What was written on the ammunition? We're going to study all this stuff. We're going to come to the bottom of this. But then they gave him a holiday, and they named a boulevard after him and gave his wife a medal. And time to move on.
Yeah.
That's the way it feels. And especially if this kid never, for whatever reason, if there is no trial. And what about the roommate? I don't know if you followed any of this, but the roommate apparently has just disappeared. Some people believe he's in witness protection.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll come back for the trial, or maybe he will never appear again. I mean, who really knows? The whole thing is just very weird. More, I think, questions than answers. But again, we haven't talked about it in a while, but I bring it up only because it was big. And
Sure.
if Susie Wiles is, putting her flat hand in the middle of Kash Patel's little chest and Tulsi Gabbard over here to separate them.
Yeah.
It was intense.
Yeah.
And it was all because of an investigation was a foreign entity involved in what happened to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Oh, it is time for Scattershoot.
Let's go.
Wilder Show Scattershoot. So we have lots and lots here. I have one thing that is such an odd story. But I will defer to you as we begin the scattershoot.
You ever pull an all-nighter?
I've been radio for 40 years.
I guess that was a silly question.
Yeah, I have. Yes, I have. I've certainly done that many times. Yes.
We've had different jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever pulled an all-nighter as a result of my radio work.
Really?
I spent years probably getting not as much sleep as I should have as a result of radio job, young kids, and all of those that Bermuda Triangle of life. But the only all-nighter I remember is in college. I remember it. I mean, there might have been two, but I remember one specifically, sitting in a Denny's with a study partner.
Studying, yeah.
For a final exam and just drinking coffee all night long. And in the morning, feeling sort of sick and dazed.
Yes.
And I could almost feel the caffeine coursing through my veins.
Terrible
like there was
feeling.
something keeping me awake, but my brain was just so desperate to shut down. And it turns out that if you pull those all-nighters, or if you're even just seriously sleep deprived, your exhausted brain will find time to rest on its own, and it doesn't need your permission. It's going to go to sleep pretty much while you are awake. And it might only be momentarily, but of course that could portend terrible things for your safety and the safety of those around you, depending on what it is. What are the tasks you're trying to do when your brain is that exhausted?
I have, it has been a while since I've traveled, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 time zones away.
Yeah.
But when you do, you have jet lag, and jet lag has the same impact on your body as if you are sleep deprived. And I know I told you many years ago that what is jet lag like? What is it like? How does it feel to be jet lagged?
Yeah.
And I won't bore you with all of the details, but it's different when you go west to east than it is to go east to west. Your body's just different. But here,
That's so weird.
I know it is. But bottom line is this. There will come a time where your brain is telling your body, I know what you want to do. I know what you think you're going to do. But let me tell you what you're going to do. And you're going to do it right now.
Sleep.
And and that's it.
Yeah.
And after several years of flying from the United States over to China, and so I'm flying to the West, they would make meetings for us quite early in our time there. And after I saw enough of this, I said, listen, it's not the first day. When we land, we can have all the meetings you want in Bangkok, in Hong Kong, in Beijing, in wherever, in Seoul. We can have all the meetings you want on the first day. But on the second day, everybody's body is going to shut down about 4 p.m. local time over there. Don't plan anything after 4 o'clock because it's not going to work.
It's going to have a bunch of heads down on tables.
And it's embarrassing to the hosts.
Yeah.
When you are a guest, and they're telling you their stories, or they're serving you this great dinner, and you have people almost literally having their heads fall over into wonton soup or egg drop soup.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It's not a good look.
So let's take that one night off. And that's kind of what it's like. So, yeah, it is a weird deal. Your brain, and this is what we've talked about before, that we talked last time about sleep. Your body has to rejuvenate, has to heal. Yeah. Your body heals even from what you do in a day. The damage that is done to your body just by being alive in a day, you heal when you get sleep that night.
Well, and sleep one of the functions of sleep is to sort of clean out your brain. So that now I've gotten to the end of the story a little bit before I've gone through the beginning of it, but this was a study that involved 26 healthy adults. And I think it is important to mention they're young. The average age was 25.6 years old. 25. And so they scanned the young people's brains when they had rest and when they did not have rest, when they had been awake all night long. They scanned them with an MRI. You can see things happening inside of an eye that the study participant might not even really know is happening. There are signs of sleep inside of an eye. So what these scans could see, they could see when the study participant was actually shutting down during these tests. Now, nothing was they were completing the tasks that they had been given.
But
they were simple tasks. It might be responding to a sound or performing, little manual tasks. But it was in the middle of that, eyes never closing, but their brain was, it looked like it was asleep.
Shutting down.
Whether they wanted to or not, whether they even knew it or not. So what they're looking at now is trying to figure out, like I was saying before, that one of the functions that sleep provides to your brain is the cleaning out of so just sort of the leftovers. And they're wondering is that happening? We can definitely see that the brain is shutting down. The brain is basically going to sleep momentarily while the body is still alive, while the body is still
awake.
I'm sorry, awake.
Yeah.
Yes,
If you feel
alive,
like you're not alive,
and awake, and seeing if is the brain able to do that maintenance on itself while the person is awake.
Amazing.
It's really fascinating.
This is a very, very strange story. You've heard stories recently about sort of a population nervousness about population.
Yeah.
That we're not having enough kids. We're dying more than we're not replacing ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? We need to have more kids in certain parts of the world, not all parts of the world.
I was just reading something about that. Yeah.
It's huge. Well, listen to this very odd story. This happened between 1663 and 1673. France sent about 800 young women. They were known as the Filles du Roi, or Daughters of the King, to New France. Now, what is New France? New France was modern Quebec.
Okay.
Quebec. So they sent 800 young women. They were mostly poor. They might have been orphaned. The French crown paid for their passages, paid for their dowries, paid for all their basic needs, with no obligation, but hoping to encourage marriages and stabilize the colony's population. Okay. So they've colonized this part of the New World, and they say, you know what, we got to have a good population. Let's send a bunch of, if they want to go, we'll pay a bunch of their ways. We'll take care of them, all their basic needs. We got to have population increase. And so they did. The plan worked. In fact, it worked remarkably well. Within a decade, the colony's population more than doubled. And
within how long?
Within a decade.
Okay, wow.
And most of the women married soon after arriving. Here's the fun part, or interesting part. Today, historians estimate that around 2/3 of French Canadians can trace at least one ancestor back to the Daughters of the King.
That's crazy.
Is that wild? So what does it take to, well, that's what they did. Anyway, just a very odd story. It's not in the news. It kind of relates to something that is in the news, but it's a weird history, as I call it, context. A weird story straight out of history.
After you've spent decades with someone, in this case, a spouse,
Okay.
it could probably apply to other relationships too. But let's say we're talking about a spouse.
All right.
You would think that emotional synchrony would be pretty constant, right?
Okay.
Like
Yeah,
when
maybe.
one's happy, the other one's happy.
Yeah, right.
Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if I
Maybe.
would think that or not.
No? You think it'd be run counter a little bit?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I think it's a really good question.
Okay.
It turns out that most couples experience positive emotions at the same time, about 38% of the time that
I
they
see
spend
what you're
together.
saying. Real quick, make sure I understand.
Yeah.
You're saying that they are in sync and it is positive, but only 38% of the time.
Only 38% of the time.
So some of that time, for example, one of them could be happy like 70% of the time.
That's true.
But it only just coincides with the grumpy one.
Yeah.
38, right? I mean, in theory, you have one.
Yeah, yes, that is
in
what
theory. In theory,
yeah.
you have one side is happy-go-lucky and is always pleasant and happy.
Yeah.
And the other one is only happy 38% of the time.
Well,
so that in that case, it wouldn't be that it's hit and miss. It's that one person is just particularly grumpy, but is 38% of the time.
You can bring them around 38%
that's
of
right.
38% of the
Usually
time.
like the morning time before 10 a.m. and maybe one other time of the day, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well,
that's interesting.
And see, the interesting thing, and it's so fun, I hadn't even thought about it that way. But one of the things about this study that I thought was kind of interesting is the way they measured this. They can't even really say that the 38% of the time that they're happy at the same time is because they were together and agreeing on something that they were happy about.
That's right.
It doesn't tell whether or not they, we were happy then because he told a really funny joke and she laughed. But there's no way to measure for sure if they were happy about the same thing.
Interesting.
So what happened was, they collected these reports from participants who are aged 56 to 89. Okay,
I'm in there.
So what they would check on was when they when they both reported that they had been happy at the same time, and then they would measure their cortisol levels an hour and a half later.
Wow!
Because you want your cortisol levels are really important to your health and your health span, your longevity,
all right,
and how you feel. So when couples feel good together, cortisol is at a really good level.
Okay.
But they don't really also know, do they have low cortisol because they were feeling happy, or did the low cortisol make them tend to feel happier? The reason this is important for people our age is because those close relationships, feeling happy with the person that you are with, or feeling content with the person that you're with, or more contented with the person that you're with, is more important at our age because we're still looking for those connections. And at this age, you might not, your kids might have all, flown the coop, and you might still have a close relationship with them, but it's not a physically close relationship. We're also at the age where we might start losing close friends, which makes that relationship, with your spouse or your partner that much more important.
I thought you were going to say the reason it's so important is because at this time in our life, we are sort of stuck with each other.
Well, could be it. Now, this study focused exclusively on long-term romantic partners, whether those same shared positive emotions with adult children who are close by, or friends or siblings produce those similar biological effects. That is unknown. But all the participants in this study were generally healthy, highly educated, and in what they would consider satisfying relationships. So happy at the same time, 38% of the time. So I'll take it. November 11th, the big day for fans of I'm going to see if you can guess. Flavorful sandwich. And
Flavorful
McDonald's.
Sandwich. McDonald's,
that
November.
is not always on the menu.
Okay, I know what it is.
Comes back is it maybe
it's
once
almost
a year?
always, it's in November or December every year, or it seems like it's every fall, but late in the fall. It's like after, it's like November or December. I think last year was in December.
I haven't tracked it that closely.
Yeah, I know it's got to be the McRib.
It is the McRib.
I don't like the McRib.
November. Why don't you like it? First, let me say, I don't think I've ever had one. I may have had a bite of one, but I don't think I've ever actually gone there and ordered one. I know people who love them.
I would say, here's what's on it.
Yeah,
it's a pork patty that is formed to look like it's ribs. Okay, so it's not ribs.
It's not like chopped pork that's formed into a patty, right? Doesn't it? Kind of looks like rib meat,
but it's not. It's not like you pulled the ribs out of it and left it. That's the way it would look. It looks sort of like that.
Yeah,
but sort of like some of the nuggets look like nuggets, but really just pressed in, to look like a something, look like a chicken wing. It's like, no, it's like Pringles. Pringles aren't really potato chips.
Right.
It's potato mush that is formed into a pattern. That's how they all fit exactly in the can.
You mean they don't all just make sure that they're in that shape so that they can all fit in the, I know that.
And so I know, So, but you should try one. And here's what's on it. Raw onions, which I like. I like white onions. Raw onions, pickles. I know you're a pickle fan.
Love pickles.
Barbecue sauce. And this McRib meat.
Yeah.
And it is on I think it's like a hoagie bun.
They call it a home style bun, but it actually looks, it like looks really good. Yeah. Well, and it's not the patty. If it is a patty, it's kind of long and narrow. It's not like a burger shape. It's Let
me tell you what it looks like. You know the Jimmy Dean sausage, not the circular patties, but the link sausage, little tiny link sausage, but they're pre-cooked. Imagine if they stayed in that little plastic thing.
Yeah.
If that's sort of what it looks like. Okay. It's kind of lumpy. It looks like ribs.
Yeah.
Where part is big and part is little and part is big. Little strips. It's a little rectangle looking thing. So they call it a patty, but it's not a patty in the sense that it's like circular, like you and I think of what is a patty of sausage.
Yeah. Doesn't sound really good to me.
I think you should try it, and if you want to, I'll split it with you. Just taste it again.
I haven't been to McDonald's in such a long time.
But I would do that. I would do that just to taste it. But I got to tell you, it tastes like an earlobe. It tastes like meat.
Okay, you know what my question has to be then. How do you know what an earlobe tastes like?
I've been to many parts of the world, Lauren,
where they eat earlobe.
Sometimes you don't know what you're eating.
I don't know.
In another country.
The barbecue sauce part of it, to me, it sounds like this would be right up your alley.
I love barbecue sauce and I love onions and I love pickles. That's all good. And I love ribs. I love real ribs. But I don't find this. I find this as much. And by the way, if you love it, eat it up.
Yeah.
That's great. Everybody, there's no accounting for taste. And I'm kind of a snob about barbecue anyway. I make my own stuff and I like the way. I like other people's stuff too, but I like stuff that is real and not sort of, I think it tastes as much like ribs as some nuggets taste like chicken.
Real chicken.
Yeah. They don't. They just they look like it. They're maybe formed like it. They're fried and they're crisped up and all that. And I can eat them.
Yeah.
And you dip them in good sauce. You kind of forget.
Cover it up. Yeah.
But I'm just not a big fan. But I would split one with you. Well, I wouldn't eat more than half of one.
Yeah. Though. People take their McRibs very seriously.
Some love them.
There is even there's a McRib locator website, McRibLocator.com. Which I guess you can find. One of the tabs is Find a McRib. Now it's kind of cute and animated with the picture of the McRib, being devoured one bite at a time. But I'm not really sure how. I guess so November 11th is the day. I guess when they're released out into the wild, you'll be able to look and see, whether or not your local McDonald's has them.
There you go. The Wilder Show podcast. If you want to find us on Instagram, you just search Wilder Show Pod, and you'll find us there. If you want to send us email, we appreciate that. And again, John, I know I owe you a link to a story.
You know what?
Email to podcast@wildershow.com. What?
Wayne, I owe you a link to a
there you
story.
Go. We're way behind. So there you go. We will do that. We will do it before we gather again. Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube. We're on the TikTok now and again. And you'll just look for us there under Wilder Show. You'll find us. Wherever you find your podcast, you'll find us. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And Lauren, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
do do